So Nadine started us off by getting us to make those choices. Some of them were just so easy. Why would you eat ice cream if you can eat chocolate cake? Would be my opinion. But I know the other person in my house would think very differently. I know that we would have agreed, and neither of us put our hands up about cats and dogs, because we're just not pet people. But our lives are filled with decisions and choices. Some of those decisions, it might seem, that some of those decisions will be the same for each of us, and others will vary as depending where we've got to in our stage of life and the circumstances that surround our lives. But actually, when I started to think, are any actually the same? I was thinking we all need to decide when to get up or when to eat. But then thought, for some people, the decisions about when to get up just don't exist. Perhaps because they don't actually have anywhere to rest, or they might have an illness that means that they can't get up. Their bodies just don't allow them to actually get up. Similarly, for some, the decision about eating doesn't exist. Perhaps because of the lack of food, or perhaps because their body just isn't able to consume food, or again, because their body is just not allowing them to eat. So, by no means are the choices and decisions that we make trivial. As we do think about the choices we do make, let's just pause for a moment and think about the influences in our daily lives that affect those choices. Is it our lives? Is it our family, Is it the plans that we want to make? Are they our priorities or our sense of worth? The readings we've heard today do certainly challenge us to make choices and how we go about them. I found that video about Philemon as I was preparing stuff and thought it helped to give something of a background and work out who Philemon was, Onesimus, the slave, and him going to Paul being in jail, Paul teaching him and encouraging him to become a Christian. And it's a lot more about, as the short video said, was about, do you make a decision to disciple one person or to go with the sort of the normal way, the way that other people would think and forget about him? And it is important to think about slavery at that time. The fact that Onesimus became Christian was quite significant. And Philemon was risking everything, a bit like we heard in Luke's reading. If he went and did something, he would be seen as being weak or soft. He might have lost his status in his community. There was also the risk that Philemon's other slaves might decide to become Christian so that they could get their freedom if that was allowed for Onesimus. But we can only guess what actually happens at the end of that story. We presume that Philemon did in fact accept Onesimus back as a brother because the letter exists. If it wasn't in our Bibles, we sort of presume it wouldn't be the ending that we expected. The gospel reading, certainly when I first read it, and I've read it many times, but it is stark in its words about what it just does mean to follow Jesus, to be one of his disciples. What does that decision mean for each of us and how we live our lives? What we're prepared to do so often shows how much we really want something. You think of when you're thinking of a a thing that you particularly want. What are you actually going to do? What lengths will you go to actually get that thing? That can happen for us as adults or children as well. The passage from Luke, Jesus tells the crowd that staying with him is going to be hard. They need to really, really want to do this. They need to be determined enough to walk all the way to the cross with him. This passage comes at a point when Jesus knows that he's on the way to Jerusalem and all that means of his crucifixion. But why are they following? The disciples, they need to prioritize. No one else, nothing else. Have they really thought about it? A bit like the tower builder and the king in the Luke story. They need to be sure before they commit. So I wonder, who would you relate to in that crowd following Jesus? Are you one of the disciples who's already recognized that being a follower is challenging? Or are you one of the crowd enjoying the feel-good factor of following? But it's not changing you. You don't have to change at all. We need to think what difference it really does make to being a follower and what are the consequences. We're lucky in this country. We've got the freedom to worship in safety. But we're very aware that for others around the world, worshipping God means risking their lives. I found a little article that said, according to a report by the International Society of Civil Liberties and the Rule of Law, 7,087 Christians were massacred across Nigeria from January the 1st to August the 10th of this year. So that works out to be an average of 30 to 35 Christians who die each day during that period. And the report also says that approximately 7,800 Christians were abducted for their faith in the same time frame. We can't really comprehend that information, can we? We might see it in a tiny snippet in the newspaper or very, very occasionally on the news. Otherwise, it's just ignored. It's just pushed to the side. We don't have to think what it means for those who are living in such situations, because they really are paying the price of following Jesus. So what's Jesus asking you and I to do to follow him? What is the cost he's asking us to pay? Well, it's how we live our lives. It's about the decisions we make day by day, praying and asking Jesus to lead us in the way that he wants us to go. It's about taking the time to really think about what we do with our money, about the things we spend our money on, about thinking about where the things we buy come from and how ethically they're produced. It's about giving both to our church but to charities that support those in need. It is about how we behave with our families and our friends. It's about what we do to consider our environment. The world God created for us, and helping to take actions that preserve it for others. All of that needs not just to be words, but to be things that we really do. Because following Jesus means that we might take decisions that make us stand out from the crowd. We're called to treat everyone the same, to be loving and kind, forgiving and generous, not just to our friends and colleagues, but to everyone we meet. Jesus asks us to choose trust, to let go of all that we value and walk towards the cross. It's allowing our Christian faith to shine out throughout our lives at every moment, every decision, every action of welcome and accepting of others. That's all part of the choice that we make when we take up the cross of Christ in our daily lives. And we know it's hard. We know there is a cost to being a disciple, of following him. It's no small thing. It calls for commitment, courage, and sometimes, as we've heard for others, sacrifice. For us, it's very unlikely to be death, but it can be a sacrifice that means that others turn away from you, or you have to change the way that you're living. In our world that often prizes comfort and convenience and quick rewards, Jesus invites us to count the cost and discover the deeper joy of living wholeheartedly for God. So as we look at the challenges around us, and that's very easy to see if you do switch on the news or read something online, of the conflict that's in our world, the economic uncertainty that just seems to grow day by day, and the strain that we see on so many people's faces day to day. But we're reminded that discipleship isn't about turning away from the world, but stepping into it with love and faith and hope. So this week, may we each be encouraged to live out our calling with a renewed purpose, trusting that Christ walks with us on our journeys. Amen. I need to start off by saying, if you don't receive our update and would like to, there are some little cards, postcards that say hello and welcome from St Mary's. You fill your name and your email address on that and tick the box that says we're allowed to be in touch with you. Then you'll receive the email week by week. I say all of that because a lot of what I'm going to say is actually on the list, on the update. I put some photographs and some words about last Sunday because I know a lot of you who were here really appreciated what happened as we remembered the Last Supper. And if you weren't here and want to know what it was all about, then do go on to our live stream link, because it's all there and you can enjoy it. This coming week, things are getting back to normal, and so it's Sparklers tomorrow. And then I often put things on that are happening in the church, just because I know that sometimes people want to come in and clean or do flowers or just come in and go, oh, there's something happening. And the new thing that's happening is Busy Lizzie Baby Massage. So Emma, who has had children baptised here, has started a new venture for mums and babies, and there's going to be massage at 1:00. So I'm not quite sure it's there for adults, but that's happening. Before I move on to the rest of the week, I need to say that at 3:00 today, there's the Wendover Music Concert. 2 young musicians, Matilda Lloyd and Richard Gowers, and they are going to be playing for you. I can see William, come and tell people what it's all about. We've got time for him to. Well, I can see Matilda's got a picture of a trumpet. So.
Right. Well, Matilda Lloyd is the new. Who's the somebody just stopped? New Alison Balsam. She's an amazing young trumpet player, and some of you might have been here when Crispin Steele Perkins came, and it just sounds absolutely fantastic to have a trumpet played in here, and also. Richard Gowers, who's the principal conductor of the London Handel Orchestra, etc., he will be playing the organ. So we have an opportunity of hearing the organ played in expert hands with a really bright, exciting trumpet player. And the music is all very enjoyable and likeable. Bach, I'm particularly looking forward to. So do come along. We'll start just after the government's emergency alarm at 3:00. And there'll be refreshments during the interval and tea and cake afterwards. So, courtesy of Bridget and a few other people. So do come along. Tickets at the door, cash or card, preferably cash. Thank you, Sally.
Yes, so 2 things that William said as he said that. So be aware that at 3:00 your phone is very likely to make a noise even if you've got switched to silent. So this is the national alert that they're testing it out. It's, in case there was something that we all needed to be alerted to. So that's happening. And the other thing means that afternoon teas aren't happening today. So because of the concert. Sorry? There will be tea and cake after the concert. As always, we'll have our Thursday morning service of said communion, followed by tea and coffee. And then this week, choir practice and music group practice start again. And then next Saturday, between 9 and 5, there's a Come and Sing Verdi choral workshop. If that's what you like to do, there's a notice all about it on the update. And then next Sunday, we've got 9 o'clock, and then at 10:45, we've got our Sunday worship with communion, but also Hayley, who's here, is going to be baptised. So another new member of our Christian family, so come and support her. Other new things, on the 21st, we're starting Bubble Church. Do you want to come quickly say something about that? So you will get your coffee in a moment.
First of all, just really quickly, I want to say thank you to everyone who donated newspapers for Shine, because the kids loved making scarecrows. When I first saw how many newspapers were there, I thought there's no way we'd need that many, but actually they did get through all of them, so thank you very much for your generosity. So Bubble Church, puppet-based church service, we're really excited to start. It's a new thing that kind of taken off a couple of years ago, and we're very happy to say we're launching the first one in Buckinghamshire, which is really cool. Starting on Sunday the 21st at 3 p.m, and it's going to be on the third Sunday of the month going forward from then. We do need a couple of volunteers, particularly for things like AV or just welcome. So if you're able to help with that, please do let me know. Cheers.
Thank you. Another thing I want to bring to your attention is on Thursday the 9th of October, we're having another retreat day. That'll be at St Catherine's, Parmore, and the theme of it is walking with God. So there'll be time of quiet and being able to explore the lovely gardens there, Bible study, worship, we'll have communion, and there's lunch as well. So it's from 10 till 3, it's £26 if you'd like to go. If you want to go and don't drive or would rather not drive across there, then we'll be arranging lifts to do that. So please talk to Nadine or myself if you want to be doing that. I think that's all I need to tell you.